Om Agyana Timrandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Malatam Yaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with a shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Okay, so let's continue from where we left off last week. So we're in the 4th chapter, entitled Transcendental Knowledge, which in Sanskrit is Divya Jnanam. So, and it's text number.
Must be almost at the end.
No, it's a 40.
Getting there. Yeah, we're at 41, so we're almost at the end. 42 is the last one.
Yeah.
So we're at 41, so we're nearly at the end here, and this is a short purport. Okay, so we can recite this verse together, text 41. Yoga Sanyasta Kamanam
Yoga
Jnana Sanchina Samshayam Atmavantam Nakarmani Nabadananti Dhananjaya. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Hare Krishna. Apologies, mate. We had trouble getting on. Not
Oh,
you.
that's okay.
It was
That's
the
okay.
computer.
Yes.
What page are we on?
The page, I'm not sure. I've got a different book, but it's chapter 4, text
42.
Sorry, chapter 4?
41.
41.
Yes. Chapter 4, text 41.
Okay. Sorry for any delay.
No, we've just started. We were just chatting, so we've only just started. So we can recite the verse again. In a minute. Bob's got it. Just let us know, Bob, when you've got the page.
Nearly
The
there.
verse starts off with the word yoga. 4, chapter text 41.
Yep, got
starts
it.
off with yoga. Okay.
One who acts in devotional service.
Yeah. Well, we'll just read the Sanskrit once more, and then we'll start reading English.
Yep, no worries.
Yoga Sanyasta Kamanam Jnana Sanchina Samshayam Atmavantam Karmani Nabadananti Dhananjaya. Okay. Josh, do you have the book with you?
Yep.
Okay, but would you like to read English?
Yeah. Therefore, one who has renounced the fruits of his action, whose doubts are destroyed by transcendental knowledge, and who is situated firmly in the self, is not bound by works, O conqueror of riches.
Who's the conqueror of riches?
I would think
Arjuna.
Yeah.
Yes. This is Krishna speaking, so he's speaking to Arjuna. Now, the question is, why is he calling Arjuna conqueror of riches? So there's an interesting story. We'll just try to keep it short. So that's one of Arjuna's names is Dhananjaya. Dhana means wealth, Dhana. And Jaya means, like my wife's name, means victory, or you could say conqueror. One who obviously, if you conquer the enemy, then you've got the victory. So he was the conqueror of wealth. Was that one time his elder brother Yudhisthira wanted to perform a very special sacrifice, a very elaborate sacrifice, very expensive sacrifice. And to perform the sacrifice requires a lot of wealth, a lot of gold to perform the sacrifice. I'm just trying to remember the name of the yagya. Rajasuya. Yeah, Rajasuya. It's called the Rajasuya Yagya. It's mentioned in the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, the story's there. So need a lot of wealth. So he didn't have all that money in his treasury. So he sent his 4 brothers, because there's 5 Pandavas, right? 5 Pandavas. So he sent his 4 brothers in 4 directions, right? He sent one north, he sent one south, one west, and one east. So from Hastinapur, which is now New Delhi, that's the capital, was the capital of the planet. 5,000 years ago, there was one emperor that ruled the whole world. Not like now, it's all divided up. So this one emperor at that time was Yudhisthira. So he sent his brothers out in the 4 directions. So this is talking about more than just India. He sent them all over the world. And they would approach different kingdoms, because all the different little kingdoms would have their own kings. See, there was one emperor, but then there was all these subsidiary kings that ruled small areas, different areas.
Like
so
we
there's
got Scott Morrison and the premiers.
but ultimately they were all meant to be subordinate to the one emperor. But some of them weren't very subordinate. Some of them were a bit, that they were not needing to toe the line. So sometimes there was a fight that was required. So they were in front of their different parties. So there's 4 parties. In front of the parties, there would be a horse roaming around. And if anyone stopped that horse or grabbed that horse, that would be a challenge. That's how they worked it out. That would be a challenge. So that horse was the emperor's horse. So if you let it go through the kingdom, it meant you're accepting subordination to the emperor. If you tried to grab that horse or like that, then that would be a sign that you're a bit rebellious, and then there would be a fight. So there'd be a whole army behind that horse. So Arjuna had one army, and Nakula had one, Sahadev and Bhima had the other. So anyway, Arjuna and his party, he subordinated a lot of kings, and he was given a lot of wealth. And also he went to one place where in the past there had been another very fabulous sacrifice, and so much gold had been left behind. That's how opulent it was in the old days, that there was incredible amount of resources. Mother Earth had produced so much natural resources like jewels and gold, and there was silks and spices and so many wonderful things in abundance, such an abundance. And so that people like the priests, the brahmanas, would use these gold plates and all articles in the sacrifice to perform the sacrifice. And then after using it, they would just leave it behind. They had no interest in it. And then it had been used once, so then that was it. And then if they do another sacrifice, they'll use another new item. Just like us now, right? You use plastic once, and then it's like contaminated after that, right? Plastic is dirty after you use it once, so then you don't use it again. So it's like that. They'd use the gold once. Oh, it's a used article now, so they just left it lying there. And that's just indicating how much gold was there, how much different valuable items. Now no one would dare doing that. Gold is so rare and so valuable, hard to obtain. But Arjuna managed to get, by different ways, all these different valuable items, and he brought it back to Yudhisthira, and they used it for performing the Rajasuya sacrifice, and it was very successful. And all the kings had been subordinated, and they accepted the rule of Yudhisthira, and it was a very wonderful sacrifice, and Krishna himself was present there. And at the beginning of the sacrifice, you have to worship the most respectable person. That's called the Adi Yagya, the Adi Puja. So you have to worship in the beginning the most respectable person, qualified person there. So who was, and not only the personalities from the earth went there to this very wonderful sacrifice, but even personalities from different planets went there. This is another interesting subject. I don't know if we got time to go into it much, but interplanetary travel. That's something people have been interested in, right? Going to the moon and Mars and so forth. And we think that's a new thing, right? Only because of science. Now we can travel in rocket ships to different places. But even we hear about in these records going back 5,000 years ago in the Bhagavad Purana, that the different personalities would travel between planets. So even we hear about how Lord Shiva came to the sacrifice, and Brahmaji, and so many demigods, so many sages from Bharadvaj and Gautama Rishi, and Vishishta Muni, Vishvamitra, so many great rishis and sages from even different planets and demigods were coming there to witness this amazing sacrifice. So of all of those people, they had to select the most exalted person. So there was a big discussion about, well, who is the first person that we should worship? Who is the most exalted? And there was a bit of controversy there. But ultimately, Krishna was chosen as the most exalted, respectable person, and he was worshipped first. But at that time, there was one king. He was very upset because he was very envious of Krishna, very jealous of Krishna, because the lady that he wanted to marry actually ended up marrying Krishna, and that was Rukmini. So Rukmini was the first wife that Krishna married. So there was one king named Shishupal wanted to marry her, but Krishna came and snatched her away and kidnapped her. Due to her wanting that, she didn't want to be married to Shishupal. She wanted to be married to Krishna. So Krishna snatched her away, and ever since then he'd been very had a lot of hatred towards Krishna. So he was at the ceremony too, and he was complaining, why are you picking Krishna? There's many other great people here like Shiva and Brahma and Narada and so forth. Why don't we pick one of these other ones? We don't want to pick Krishna. So he ended up blaspheming Krishna so much, and Krishna just tolerated. That's another feature of Krishna's greatness. He's so tolerant. He's so tolerant. The Pandavas wanted to rip him to pieces. They weren't so tolerant. Actually, if you love someone, you can't tolerate them being blasphemed or criticized at all, isn't it? If you love someone, you're not going to tolerate any insult to them. So Arjuna and Yudhishthira and that wanted to rip the guy to pieces. Hey, Bhakti Mala. Hare Krishna.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. It's all good. So they wanted to rip him to pieces, but Krishna told them, no, you just wait there. No worries. Actually, at the time of Shishupal's birth, there was astrology was used to foresee what would his future be. This was also a very common part of traditional Vedic culture, using astrology to understand about a person, about their future, what their abilities were, their qualities were, like that, indicating about maybe what vocation or work they would be good at or like to do.
They're still doing today as well. Today's days in India, before they were getting married, they were checking that what's their quality and all. Anyway.
Yes. So it's still being used, but it used to be was all the time. When any child was born, then that astrology would be used to check. Because the parents obviously want the best for the child, so they want to guard against any problems and try to maximize all the good things and minimize the bad things. So anyway, that was done there. His parents did for Shishupal, and it came out there that he would be killed by Krishna, and that he would be a great enemy of Krishna. So Shishupal's parents, knowing that was going to be obviously a big problem for their kid, they went to Krishna and said, we have heard that in astrology that you're going to kill my son, Shishupal. Please don't do that. Please don't kill my son.
They were actually relatives.
They were related too, Jayanti just mentioned in extra detail. They were actually relatives. So Krishna said, I will tolerate
100 offenses.
Yes.
After 100 offenses, I'll kill you.
I will tolerate 100 offenses. So that's pretty tolerant. So at that Rajasuya sacrifice, he was going for it. 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. When it came to 100, what did Krishna do? He put up his whirling disc of destruction, the Sudarshan Chakra. Chakra means like a wheel or a disc. So this is not an ordinary disc. There's a whole story about that too. But anyway, he released it, and it took off Shishupal's head. And you might say, oh, well, that's not very good of Krishna to do that. He's God, the Supreme Person. Why is he going killing around people and stuff like that? Why is he partial to some people, friendly towards others and acts as an enemy to others? But no, it's not like that at all. Krishna is very impartial and neutral, and is very friendly to everyone. So what happened was, he chopped off his head, but that's not the end of the story. Then a dazzling light came out of the body of Shishupal after he'd been decapitated, came out of the heart of Shishupal. One dazzling light. Do you know what that light was?
No. Was it Krishna?
No. That's his Atma. That's the soul. Because as we know from Bhagavad Gita, right, within everybody there's an eternal soul. So even though, and that's one of the main philosophical points, especially in the second chapter, is when the body is killed, we are not killed. That's chapter 2, text 20. Yeah, chapter 2, text 20. Najayate mriyate vakarachin. When the body is killed, we are not killed. The soul has no birth, no death at any time. It is eternal, immortal, invincible, indestructible, cannot be burnt by fire, drowned by water, withered by wind. Krishna gives so many elaborate descriptions about the soul there in the second chapter. Very fantastic for self-realization. So understanding that eternal soul, although the body had been killed, but the soul hadn't been hurt at all. So the soul came out of the body and was just hovering in the air for a short time. And then what did that soul do? It merged into Krishna's body. That soul merged into Krishna's body. Because as we know, every soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Because that says it in the 15th chapter, the 7th verse. Mamaivam Shaujiva Loke Jiva Buddha Sanatana, that the soul is an eternal part of the Supreme Soul. That doesn't mean that Shishupal became Krishna. That's indicating that Shishupal comes from Krishna, is part and parcel of Krishna. So from merging into Krishna's body, actually after that, Shishupal went into another existence. And that's another whole story. He just stayed there for a short time. So it's not that he became Krishna, but he entered into Krishna. Just like if a bird flies into a tree, does that mean the bird becomes the tree? The bird's still a bird, right? And the tree's still a tree. But the bird entered into the tree. So it seems like the bird merged into a tree. That's a really good example, isn't it? The Vedas use that sometimes. Just because the soul merges into the Supreme, that doesn't mean the soul becomes the Supreme. Do you understand that point? So the bird goes in a tree. The bird doesn't become a tree. The tree doesn't become a bird. There still remain two individuals. There still remain the tree and still remain the bird. But the bird entered the tree. So sometimes the soul merges with the Parabrahman. The soul is known as Brahman, spiritual, and the Supreme Soul is Parabrahman. So sometimes the Brahman enters into the Parabrahman. But that doesn't mean that we become Parabrahman or we become the Supreme Soul, we become God.
It's the same like Atma and Paramatma.
Yeah. So if the Atma merges with the Paramatma, it doesn't mean we become Paramatma. No, we're still the Atma. But you've temporarily you're merged with the Paramatma. But you still remain an individual. So Krishna declares that also in the second chapter, that the soul is always an individual. That he's always an individual, God, and also the individual soul, us, is always an individual. That never at any time do any of us cease to exist. Okay, so there's a little bit of a story there. So now you all know about Dhananjay, about the conqueror of riches.
Well, I know the small story. Whoever the Krishna side is definitely a conqueror. No one can defeat him.
Yeah. That's the very last verse.
Okay.
The very last verse. Should we look at that? Let's just have a quick look at that. The very last verse, the Bhagavad Gita, which is chapter 18.
I know the last word is called a mama.
Very last verse. Beautiful verse. Yatra Yogeshvara Krishna Yatra Pato Danodara Tatra Shivijya Vitir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. You going to read that, Gulshan?
Oh, if I do, okay. Yatra Yaksha.
No, the English.
English, okay. Wherever there is a Krishna, the master of all mystic and Wherever there is a Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will be also to certainly be a opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. And
Yes.
This is Krishna's Vacha, like Bhagwan Vacha.
So if you're on the same side as the supreme being or his pure devotee,
and
then you're
not an option.
This is spoken by Sanjay.
Yeah, this was spoken by Sanjay, who was the secretary of the blind king. So that was his realization. So who wants to be victorious? So, and who wants there to be all opulence? Of course, we all like to be opulent and have victory and fame and fortune and all these things, morality. So if you want that, then you should stay on the same side as the Supreme and the Supreme's devotees, isn't it? Even Arjuna, he was opposed to a far greater army with better warriors. Did you know that? Yes. I think on Arjuna's side, how many Akshahini divisions were there? 6 or 7. They had divisions. The name of the division was called Akshahini. That means so many chariots, so many horses, so many elephants, so many infantry, like that. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers and so forth. And Arjuna's side had, I think, between 6 and 8, and I think Kaurava's side, the other side, Duryodhana's side, they had about 13 or something. So they had nearly double the amount of soldiers and military force as what the Pandavas had. And they had better fighters. Like the best fighter in Vedic culture was called a Maharathi. Each one of those fighters can fight with like thousands of other chariot fighters.
His guru was there as well.
Yeah, so Arjuna's guru, who was an awesome fighter named Dronacharya, he was on the other side, and Bhishma was invincible. He was the grandfather of the Kuru dynasty. He was actually a demigod that took birth in a human form. He was invincible. He got benedictions that he could never be killed by any weapon or anything like that. So Dronacharya could never be killed like that. And so many. Ashvatthama.
Karna was there,
Karna, he was the son of the sun god. He was like, had this invincible armor and everything like that. And so many weapons, special weapons and benedictions. But even though it looked like it was really bad odds, but who came out victorious? That was Arjuna, because Arjuna was with Krishna. Actually, at the beginning of the battle, before the battle started, that Arjuna came to see Krishna to get his blessings, and also Duryodhana went there. The evil Duryodhana went there to try to get Krishna's army, because Krishna had a very powerful army. The Yadu dynasty had a big army. So Arjuna was there first, and he was very humble. So he sat at Krishna's feet when Krishna was lying on the bed, sat at Krishna's feet, very humble position. Duryodhana then came in later and sat right next to Krishna's face, right next to Krishna's head, very proud, very arrogant Duryodhana. But when Krishna opened his eyes, where did he first see?
Feet.
Yeah, when you wake up, right? What's the first thing you see? You see your feet, right? you don't see at your top of your head. You look down at your feet. So he saw, oh, Arjuna, you are here. Oh, very nice to see you. What can I do for you? So he first offered blessings to Arjuna, and Duryodhana said, that's not fair. That's not fair. I was right by your face, and why you didn't see me and give me blessings first? So Krishna said, no, you might be close to my eyes, but I first saw Arjuna, so I will give him the first opportunity. So then Krishna said, however, I'll give blessing, but either whatever you ask, you can have either my army, which is a very vast army, or you can have me, but not both. And if you have me, I won't fight. I will not fight. So either me or my army. And Arjuna said, I just want you, Krishna. Even if you don't fight, I don't care. I'm sure, I'm certain that we'll be victorious. If you are with me, then victory will be with me. He had that much faith in having Krishna's with him on his side. And Duryodhana was so happy.
Yeah.
Arjuna, you're an idiot. You're a moron. You're giving up Krishna's army. And you're going to have Krishna. Well, it's going to be useless. He's not even going to use any weapon. He's not even going to fight. You're a complete moron. So anyway, Duryodhana was very happy. He left there very happy. And Arjuna was happy because he didn't give a stuff about any army or anything else. He just loved Krishna. He's a real devotee. And Krishna was very pleased. And as we know, even though Krishna didn't fight, that Krishna's side was successful.
But he did fight that actually. He says he's not going to fight, but Bhishma Pitama said, I will make you to fight. And then he took it the chariot wheel and start fight. And they said, how did you do that? He said, I can break my promise, but I cannot break the devotee's promise. He's my devotee.
Yeah.
He make him fight, and then he ended up with fighting.
So that's a very loving pastime.
Very.
Now Krishna, he broke his word just to save his devotee,
Yes.
Arjuna, and also to save the promise of his other devotee, Bhishma, because Bhishma was also a devotee, although on the other side. Yeah. And Bhishma had made a promise, so Krishna kept Bhishma's promise.
Yeah.
He said either I will...
my promise, but not the devotees.
Yeah. So Bhishma had also promised to kill the Pandavas, or at least he would kill Arjuna. So that was his promise. So, sorry. That he would kill Arjuna, or he would make Krishna break his promise and fight. Yeah, that was what he made, the promise. Either he would kill Arjuna, or if not that he would make Krishna fight, break his promise. Yeah, so Krishna kept his promise, and also his promise to always protect the devotees. So he protected Arjuna and protected Bhishma's promise. So that was a very loving exchange there, that Krishna shows he cares more about his devotees than he does about himself. You know, we're very concerned about keeping our word, but even above keeping our word, Krishna, he values the safety of his devotees, even above himself.
But it's a value of that devotees, it's like a pure devotee you're talking here. Not that we are like nowhere near that devotee. It's a big word. We're like just a servant. And they were the very heavy devotee, pure devotee, like a Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Pure devotee.
I mean, Krishna, it's true. Krishna reciprocates with us according to how surrendered we are. But even if we are a little bit surrendered, still he gives some protection. Definitely some protection is there.
Definitely. All protection. Everything is.
Yeah, I mean, like we've all experienced, right? Although there's so many difficulties in the world, but we're all very fortunate, aren't we? There's a lot of people a lot worse off than us.
Very.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Even like Josh, how he got out of India just in time before it got worse. Like that, and so many things. There's a lot of people a lot worse off than us. So we see how Krishna is protecting us.
No one can destroy the Krishna's devotee. Simple as. No one.
Okay, so let's get into this verse, the conqueror of riches. So we're at text 41 today. So this yoga sannyasta kamanam. So this is an important theme in the Bhagavad Gita about renouncing the fruits of our work. So this is what, sannyas, we know that word sannyas, right? Sannyasi means a renounced person. You have brahmacharis as like a student, a brahmachari, celibate student. Then you have grihasta, means like a householder, family man. These are the different orders of life, different stages of life. Isn't it? We start off life as student, then we get to become a householder, a married person. And then vanaprastha means retired. You retire, the kids have grown up, they've gone off, got their own families, and you're retired. And then you have sannyasi, the renounced order of life. So those are the 4 divisions in life, the stages we go through. And so the final one, sannyas. Sannyas means renouncing. It doesn't. So see, some people take it that sannyasis, they are renouncing work. But Krishna is telling us something different here in the Bhagavad Gita. He's saying that sannyas doesn't mean to give up your work, but sannyas means to give up. What? Give up? What are we giving up?
The material world.
No, it's a. I think it's a.
Yeah, but how are you practically doing that?
The tongue,
you're still
belly,
in the
and
world.
genital.
What's that?
Tongue, belly, and genital. Control that.
Controlling that, yeah, that's part of it.
Giving up the results of the.
Yeah, giving up the results. Because you can't give up your tongue, belly, and genitals.
I mean, like control.
Yeah,
If
control
you
that. No, but see, the word sannyas means renouncing, giving up.
Oh, give it
So
up.
then the question is, but what are you giving up? What are you renouncing?
Fruitive action.
Yes, you're giving up that fruitive action. You're not doing the action anymore for your enjoyment of the results. You're not doing it to enjoy the results anymore. And that's going to come up soon. Let's just look ahead. 5th chapter, next chapter, text number. Oh no, let's not look at that one. We'll look at the 6th chapter. Hang on. Yep. Okay. 6th chapter, text 1. This is the yoga chapter. Dhyana yoga. This is the yoga chapter. This is the
Dhyana yoga, yeah.
Dhyana yoga.
The Supreme Personality of God.
This is what Josh is into.
Yeah.
Josh is doing this one. Joshua, you want to read this one, the translation?
Back on to verse 41.
Chapter text 1.
Oh, 6-1, hang on.
257.
No, I use
530.
No, I'm not using a book. I'm
Different
using the website. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
chapter 6, verse what?
1. First
Verse
one.
Thank you. I use the website. Okay, here we go. The translation.
Yeah.
The blessed Lord said, "One who is unattached to the fruits of his work, and who works as he is obligated, is in the renounced order of life. He is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work." No, that's good.
Yeah. You want to say anything about that, Josh? Anything comes to mind? Because it's got the word sannyas in it. See, in the 3rd line, sannyasi, chayogi. So this is the sannyasi and the yogi. Krishna's explaining what is actually the substantial meaning of being a sannyasi, of a yogi.
Well, it's a bit similar to like the concept of cynicism. Being cynical. Being cynical is lazy, right? You might be tempted to look at all the bad things of the world and go, oh well, what's the point? There's no point in even trying. This is ridiculous. This is laziness. We don't want to be attached to the fruits of the work, but that doesn't mean sit around doing nothing.
But the thing is, I'll ask you, the Prabhuji, that the sannyasi, it can't be grasta, or can grasta be sannyasi too?
Yeah, anyone. Because if you go by this definition, what's this definition?
This can be anyone. It don't need to be in the saffron clothes.
Hey, Sarah.
Hello, Hare Krishna. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, that's all right.
Hello, everyone.
So you can do any kind of work according to this definition. Any kind of work, whether you're working as a brahmachari or grihastha or whatever you are, or as a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, sudra, do any kind of work. But and any kind of work is going to produce some results. But you're renounced from the results of whatever the work you're doing. You're giving up the results of whatever kind of work you're doing. That is a sannyasi. That is a sannyasi. Like, for example, in the Hare Krishna movement in the early days, all the young boys and girls were working so hard to distributing books on the street and chanting on the street and distributing prasadam and managing temples and so many things. But they were who were they doing that for? For whose benefit?
Krishna's.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Krishna's benefit, for Prabhupada's benefit. They weren't doing it for their own benefit. It was selflessly working. So one time Prabhupada said, "You are all sannyasis." And some of them were young boys, some of them were young girls, which were like brahmacharis. Some of them were married, some weren't. And all different phases of life and occupations and everything. But he said, "You are all sannyasis," because they were all very renounced from the results of their work. They were working and giving up the outcome for someone else's benefit, not their own. So that's sannyasi. Anyone else want to say anything about that?
Well, in that case, you are sannyasi then.
Well, wait, you should be too.
Oh, no.
You should be too.
My heart is still dirty.
Sarah, we've just skipped forward to chapter 6, text 1. We're
Thank you.
talking, because where we are today, we're on 4th chapter, text 41. So it mentions about renunciation. So we're talking about this topic of sannyas or renunciation.
We cannot
So
wait
this-
until we are perfect before we begin, can we? We have to begin now.
Yeah, we have to begin now. Yeah, it's not just before you're dead. Just before you're dead and you renounce everything. No, not like that. Of course, the danger. What's the danger of that? That this is a common mentality too. Oh, now's the time for me to enjoy. When I get old, then I will get serious about spiritual life.
You
What's the
may not
danger
be
of that,
last
possibly?
long.
This is very
You may
common
not-
in India.
That's right.
You may not be old. You just died young then.
Yeah, I could walk out the door and have a heart attack tomorrow, get hit by a bus, or so many things. So then you're buggered. You're completely buggered. If before you've got any spiritual consciousness and you just die in that enjoyment mode, and then according to whatever your karma is, then you're going to get a reaction, and you're going to take birth again. So you definitely want to be renounced from the karma as soon as possible. Because remember, we've talked about this a lot. It's because of the reactions to our karma, our activities. That's why you get another body. So you're going to be rotating in the cycle of birth and death called samsara. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, birth, death, old age, and disease. This is the cycle of birth and death, samsara. You're going to be recycling around in this material world, life after life, as long as you're getting reactions to your activities. And the only way, remember, to get out of the reactions to your activities is to give up the results. You have to give up the results of your activities, and that frees you from the reaction. Then there's no reaction. And then you're out of the cycle of birth and death, and you're liberated. So that's a very important part of the Vedic culture, Vedic process, is how to get free from the reactions of your activities, and that's through renouncing the results. Renouncing the results of the activities. You do it for Guru and Bhagavan. You're doing it for doing your activities for the like the brahmachari. When he's the monk student is doing all the activities for the pleasure of his guru, doing it all for the pleasure of his guru. So nothing for him, everything.
That's why the Prabhupada went all the way to America, because of the guru.
Mm.
He says, Guru says.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. He did it not for his own pleasure. He was very happy.
Instructions from Guru.
Own thing in India, yeah, but he sacrificed all that. He renounced that for the pleasure of his guru and went through so many difficulties. Very, very wonderful.
It's not that easy. We're just, I'm thinking, but it's like still attached.
Yeah, so the
Might
practice,
take
like you were saying, you have to
How
practice.
many lifetimes it'll take that to understand that?
No, well, not necessarily. That's our free choice, whether it takes lifetimes or whether you get it straight away.
I'm just telling about me. I'm a dumb.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You want to come back again, Gulshan, do you?
I don't want to, but I think like the way I'm just attached and all that is just it'll take 25 years to reach there where you are now.
Oh, not necessarily.
I might not
Sounds like
last
he's already
25 years.
decided. Gulshan has already decided that he's coming back.
I'm just telling you, I'm dirty in my heart and everything. Nothing is clean.
Also planning to get you back.
Well, I mean, yeah, we should be humble anyway. I mean, we should always be humble and not think we're very pure or qualified. That's true. But we should try our best. We should try our best. So getting back to this one, the 6th chapter, text 1, it says also, so it says who the renounced person is, the one that gives up the fruits of his work. And it says who the renounced person isn't. Not he who lights no fire, performs no duty. So that's an idea that many people have about spirituality, as I think spirituality means don't do anything anymore. Don't do any karma. Don't do any work. Give up your work. Give up your job. Like here, I met some people. I'm right next to a walking track where people start from the top of the North Island, which is called Cape Reinga, and they walk right to the bottom of the South Island, which is called Bluff. So that takes many months. And these people, they saw me planting some trees and they said, oh, that's very good. And I said, oh, what you're doing is very good. It's amazing. You're going to do all this walking and that. And they said, yeah, we've seen the situation of the world today and it's really crazy and everything. And we just decided we give up our job. We both given up our jobs. Both the husband and wife gave up their job and sold their house. So they have this is a common idea about, spirituality and that too, that it means you just give up everything in this world and, don't work, don't do any kind of duty and just do nothing or whatever. So, but this isn't what Krishna's saying spirituality is about. It's not about stopping working, but it's about doing your work, and whatever the result comes out of your work, you got to give that up. You got to give up that result of your work. He says that's what renunciation is. Does that make sense?
How about the result you offer to Krishna?
Yeah, of course. And then you're going to give it up, the result, but where are you going to give it to? So the best thing is to give it to the Supreme, because then you're going to get the best. You could back to the word result. You're going to get the best result out of it. Like you could think, well, if I do my work and I give the result to Krishna, then what about me? How am I going to live? But the thing is, if you give it to Krishna, then Krishna gives you back what you gave, plus a lot more. Plus a lot more. Like we give the food to Krishna, which is called bhoga. What we give, bhoga means enjoyment. So actually food is meant for the enjoyment of the Supreme because it all comes from him. Where does food come from?
Krishna.
Do you ever think about that? Where does your rice come from? Where does your wheat come from? Where do the oats come from? Where do the lentils come from? Where does the milk come from? Where does the potatoes come from? The cauliflower come from?
It all comes from Krishna.
Yeah, it's all coming from Krishna.
Yeah. It's like the same like if the farmer gives a handful of seeds and he's got tons of crops comes back.
Yeah. Yeah, so as a combination of Mother Nature and the Father, then all this production is there. So it's actually should be for his enjoyment. It's all coming from him. So we offer it back to him. But we've offered it to him, the bhoga. Does that mean we starve? That's one thing I've never seen a starving Hare Krishna. So you offer it to him, and he very kindly leaves it there for you, and you get it back. But it's much more better than before you offered it, before you sacrificed it. Isn't it? We've all experienced that, how the prasadam, the sanctified food, the offered food is sacrificed food, is very delicious and healthful and so wonderful.
I think Krishna dribble in that food to become a prasadam.
Yes, the nectar. So, but it creates a loving exchange that we're working, we're giving something to the Supreme, and the Supreme is pleased by that. It's like, you know, a boy and a girl come together and they want to develop a relationship, what do? The boy gives a bouquet of flowers to the girl. The girl cooks something nice, you know, a cake or something for the boy. So this is how the relationship develops, give and take, right? Give and take. So that's also how we develop our relationship with the Supreme. How are you going to do that? We've discussed that before. The 9th chapter, text 27. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever you eat, offer that to me. Whatever austerities you do that for me. So that's after the verse 9:26 where it says,
whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whether austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
yeah. So Krishna's saying, you know, start giving me something. You know, I want to develop a relationship with you. I love you, Gulshan. Give me something. Start off the relationship.
How can everything is Krishna's? What can I give?
That's right, but then you're right. It's all coming from him. So you think, well, why give it back to him?
I can only give it a Krishna by bhava.
So it's not what you're giving that's important, but it's that the love.
Intention.
It's that you didn't have to do it, but you chose to give it to him. You could have given it to someone else or given it just for yourself, but you've sacrificed that. You've sacrificed that trying to please yourself for him. And that's what excites him and gives him pleasure, that you've done something for him. At your expense, you've sacrificed or given up something that you like for yourself, and you've sacrificed that for him. So that starts off the relationship. And then he gives to you. In fact, he's already giving to us, right? He gives us water, he gives us air, he gives us food, he gives us out this body, he gives us a wife, he gives us kids, he gives us a house. So he's already extended himself to us, but he wants some reciprocation, and that's what love is. It's a reciprocation. So we want to start off from our side, and that's what bhakti means. Bhakti means giving service. So we're taking service from the Supreme so much every moment of our life, but how about for a change we give something back? Isn't it? That's gratitude.
That's why you
acknowledging.
tree. I know that.
Yeah.
That's why you're planting the tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you call a kid that just takes and takes and takes and takes and takes from the parent? What do you call that?
Well, then I don't want to listen to that kid.
Yeah. We call it over here a spoilt brat.
Yeah.
That isn't so nice, is it?
What happened if you have a one child only?
There's more chance they could be a spoilt brat, yeah. So if they just taking and taking and taking and they don't give back, that's not very nice. So we don't want to be like that. But the main thing is, and that's mentioned in 9:26, the previous verse, the main thing is to give it with love. Even he says a leaf, a fruit, a flower, or water, you give with love. Then he said, I will accept it. So that's the main thing, is to give whatever you're giving. It doesn't have to be a very great thing, like he's saying, just even a fruit, a flower, but with love, and then he will accept it. Okay, so that's a little, so hopefully you understand now about the real meaning of sannyas, renunciation. It doesn't mean you have to wait till when you become old and finish up with the family affairs and so forth and live in the forest and eat nuts and berries or anything. But whatever stage of life you're in, but the results of your activities, whatever they may be, but try to offer them to the Supreme for the pleasure of the Supreme. And that is a sannyasi. That is a sannyasi. So now we'll go back to our verse for today, chapter 4, text 41. So it's saying here, so one who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions. So that's what it means to act in devotional service, that whatever your actions are, you're giving up the fruits, which is the results. You're giving to the Lord. You're giving the results to the Supreme. And whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge. Jnana sanchina samshayam. So samshaya means doubts. Remember, we've been talking about that in some of the last sessions, how we have so many doubts. Doubts come from
Lack of
said
knowledge.
ignorance.
Yeah.
So doubts come from ignorance. How do you get rid of ignorance? With
Knowledge.
knowledge, jnanam. This chapter is called transcendental knowledge. So transcendental knowledge, it destroys ignorance, destroys doubts which have come from ignorance. We doubt that we're a soul. We think we're the body, right? And we have doubts about we're a soul. We not only have doubts about that, we have doubts that there is a supreme soul, that there is Bhagavan, there's God. We have so many doubts. We have doubts that when the body dies, it's going to take birth again. We have doubts about reincarnation. We have doubts about if I give to Krishna, then how am I going to live? You know, we're afraid. We're afraid if we sacrifice to the Supreme, then how am I going to survive? How am I going to live?
And not only me, like what about my family?
Yeah, well, even if I'm not worried about myself, but I'm worried about my wife and kids and so forth, you know, who's going to pay my bills and everything like that, you know, my health, and we have so many doubts. It's
That's
like
why we have funeral insurance.
We get insurance for everything because we have so many insecurities like that. But this transcendental knowledge, it slowly removes all our doubts. So that's very important. We should constantly be learning. Very important part. Actually, the main purpose Prabhupada has right from the beginning of establishing ISKCON in 1966. Remember, he went to America in 1960?
7,
6.
8.
5. He went to America. This is a quiz. He went to America, left India, went to America first time in his life, 1965. He was 70 years old. And he incorporated this organization called ISKCON in 1966, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And it has 7 purposes. And if you look at those 7 purposes, most of them have something to do with education. That is so important. We need to get knowledge and then give that knowledge out. So important. 99.9% of our problems come from ignorance. Even no one is fundamentally bad or too far gone or anything. But the main thing is what problems we have is we're just so ignorant. Like we say every time, right? We're born in the darkness of ignorance. So the soul we're a pure, remember, we're an eternal, fully conscious, blissful soul. That's what we all are. Why are we not experiencing that now? Because we're covered with layers of ignorance and lust and greed and anger and envy and pride and so much trash. But underneath all that is a pure soul. But you can remove all that trash covering the soul with this transcendental knowledge. That's very important. So we should always, every year, every month, every week, every day, learn something, some transcendental knowledge. Find out more about the soul and the Supreme Soul, relationship with the Supreme Soul, and about bhakti, and engage in these activities for the pleasure of the Supreme, engage in sacrifice, and slowly, you're going to become purified.
If they do mandatory Bhagavad Gita in every school, world will be a beautiful place to live.
It'll be a fantastic place to live.
Yes,
That's
but mandatory in every school.
Yeah. So it's saying here, if you act in devotion, so that means giving up the results of your activities for the pleasure of the Supreme. And then if you are becoming enlightened in transcendental knowledge and all your doubts will be gone, then what's the result of that? You're factually situated in the self. So what that means, you're actually, even though you're in the material world, you're a liberated soul. If you act in devotion, not for your own sense gratification, but if you work in devotion, sacrificing the results of the activities, and you're fully enlightened with knowledge, you remove all the ignorance from your life, and you follow the directions of the Supreme. Because this transcendental knowledge, where is it coming from? It's all coming from the Supreme. It's coming from Krishna. So if you follow his instructions, this is transcendental knowledge means his instructions. If you follow his instructions down the line and work in devotion for his pleasure, then you're liberated. When are you liberated? Not when you die. You're liberated when you do this. When you live a life of knowledge, when you don't live a life of ignorance anymore. All your life is guided by this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. When you live according to that and work in devotion, then you're liberated. You become situated factually in the self, as mentioned here. And thus he is not bound by the reactions of work. So if you do that, liberated means you're free. Free from what? You're free from the reactions of work. That's what we want to get liberated from. Because remember, the reactions for your work is what cause you to take birth again. But if you work in devotion, work in knowledge, then there's not going to be any reactions. And you're liberated. Means if you had your heart attack today and you get hit by a bus today, you're here. You're not coming back. You're not coming back.
What about the action we done in the past?
No, that's cleared out. That's the Lord clears that out. You can see that 18th chapter. This is the final instruction of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, text 66.
Yeah.
Did I say that okay?
And
All the Aussies,
variety
Hassel, how
of
Kiwis say
religions
6.
just surrender to me.
Yes,
I
it's
shall
fine.
deliver you from the sinful way. Do not fear.
What text, sorry?
1866.
Yeah. Sarah, do you want to read that out?
Sure. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear.
Yeah, so all the reactions to our past karma is all taken out as soon as we surrender. As soon as we surrender, as soon as you work, according to his directions and offer your body, and everything, all your work, everything to him, then immediately all the bad karma, everything's
It's
all
wiped
cleared
out.
out, and the good karma, bad karma, it's all thrown out. You got a clean slate, Gulshan. As soon as you
That's what I
surrender.
was thinking. I just did that so much bad thing in 47 years, and then I got a cancer, and then
Yeah.
I come in here. This whole 47 years is going to be wiped out, or I'm going to pay them back.
But you're thinking too limited. It's not just 47 years. It's many lifetimes.
I know, but I remember only 47 years. I don't remember that.
I know. But still, you're still held accountable for all the reactions to the activities you've done in previous lives.
Yes.
So, but all that's cleared out from all the lives if you just surrender
Yes, surrender
in this
to it.
life. Surrender now. Now, what does this mean? Abandon all varieties of religion. That doesn't mean, he's saying give up being a Christian, give up being a Hindu, give up being a Muslim, give up being a Buddhist. That's not what it means. Because in the translation, it's Sava Dharman. So Sava means all Dharma. Dharma means all your occupations, all your duties. So give up all your so-called important duties that you were focused on. That, I have a responsibility. I have a duty to Australia. I have a duty. I have a responsibility to my partner. I have a duty, a responsibility to my kid. I have a responsibility, a duty to my pets, my cat, my dog, my, everything. So this thing is, see, we are surrendered to so many self-appointed occupations that we have chosen. I'm dedicating my life to save the whales, or I'm dedicating my life to what do they say? Like that one that recently came, right? Black Lives Matter. That's a good example. You heard that was a big debate, right?
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter. So that's like a dharma. They've taken that up as their occupation to push that forward, that Black Lives Matter. I'm not saying that they don't matter, but I'm saying that that's where the focus, you're just so focused on that, that becomes your occupation, all your body and your mind, your heart and soul is all focused on that. So Krishna's saying all these self-appointed and very important duties that you have concocted, that this is what I'm going to devote myself to. I'm going to devote myself to Black Lives Matter. I'm going to devote myself to save the whales. I'm going to devote myself to, to the cause of the white people or the Maoris or the Aborigines or the trees or, my wife or my health or whatever it is. We're fully devoted to a particular thing. So Krishna's saying, give up all of that. Just surrender to me. I'll take care of you. The black people going to take care of you? Are they going to free you from all your sins? Are the cows or the donkeys or your partner or your kids or your parents or Australian government, are they going to free you from all your sins? From all your bad karma?
No.
They're not. They're going to pull you down even further.
But can I just clarify something?
Jayanti wants to say something.
Hello, Jayanti. Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
Hare
Hi.
Krishna.
Hello, lovely lady. Hello.
Where am I? My head's cut off. There I am.
Yeah.
No, you see you.
Nice to
see
see you too,
you.
Sarah. No, I was just saying that it's fine to say that, yeah, I mean, you're not dedicating yourself to these causes or, but there may be people who work there to provide for their families, so there is a slight difference in what you mean by dedication. Like, for instance, if you're married, it doesn't mean that you just leave your wife and then just end up sitting in a temple just because, I don't want to be caught down in what you call Maya or something like that, So you have to be careful about how we are talking about.
Oh my God, that's what I did. Oh my God, I'm gonna go back to my wife.
Hey, Bhushan, we know your background.
Yeah, so that's a good subject. That's part of this discussion. So, yeah, it's like we're saying, sannyas doesn't mean giving up your work, giving up what your family occupation or whatever like that. But what is the purpose of you doing that activity? That's what changes. Now, and before I have a relationship with family for my pleasure, for my enjoyment. But now as a sannyasi, I'm going to look after my wife as a service to Krishna, to the Supreme. I'm going to look after my kids for the pleasure of the Supreme. Because where do the kids come from?
Krishna.
From Krishna.
They come from
Where does the wife come from? Where does the husband? Where does the parents? They're all coming from there. Where did the house come from?
Krishna, everything.
Yeah, everything. So
the cat came from Krishna.
Yeah, the cat. So I'm going to do all the same things I'm doing, but I'm going to turn my mentality upside down. This is a beautiful word I've sort of focused on a bit recently. My paradigm. Paradigm means your outlook on life, the map you have for your life and your goals and everything, how you see the world is called a paradigm. So I'm going to turn my paradigm upside down. Before, everything in this world was centered around
Me.
me.
Yeah.
Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to change the central point.
Center
I'm
of
going to
attention
take
is
me
Krishna.
out of it, and I'm on the outside somewhere, on the fringe, and I'm going to put Krishna or the Supreme Parabrahman Paramatma in the middle. But everything's still there. The house is still there, the money's still there, the job's there, the health is still there, the relationships are still there, friends are there, family's there, everything's there, but the central point is moved. You see?
Yes.
So before I looked after my wife because she was keeping me happy. And I want to keep her happy, so she keeps me happy. If I don't keep her happy, she's not going to keep me happy. So, you know, I'm trying to please her, so she'll please me. But now it's, you know, I'm seeing that Jayanti is very dear to Krishna, as a dear servitor of Krishna. So so Krishna will be pleased if I take good care of her like that. You see the difference?
Yes.
There's still me in the equation, still Jayanti in the equation, but just Krishna's in the middle. There's one nice book that was put out by a devotee. It's called The Third Partner.
What is it?
The third party.
Third Partner.
Third partner.
We have the idea, right? You have two partners. You know, a partnership means two, right? That means partnership means two. But actually, there's a third party, which we've forgotten about.
Actually, that's the most interesting party. It's not a third, it's a first.
Yeah, that's the Paramatma. That's the super soul. That's the main part. Because did you know that without the third party, the other two parties drop down dead?
Yes, exactly.
The third party is the main one.
Yes.
And the third party exists even without the first party or the second one.
It's an
But the third
invisible
party is the main one. But we don't exist without the third party. You see what I mean?
Yes.
With or without us, God exists. But without God, we don't exist. So who's the most important one?
God.
Yeah. Like without the soul, this body doesn't exist. So which is more important? The body is more important or the soul's more important?
Soul. Without soul, we're nothing.
Yeah. So the soul exists. Just get this point. The soul exists with or without this material body. You understand? Even without this body, the soul still exists unchanged. But this body does not exist one moment longer than when the soul leaves this body. So the soul is so vital. And the soul exists because Krishna exists, because the super soul exists. So Krishna is the summum bonum, absolute truth. He's the ultimate reality. He's the most important. As he says in, I think it's 7th chapter, text 7, he is the thread that all the beads, that holds all the pearls. It's a beautiful verse, that one, that he is like, just like all pearl. He's the string on which all the pearls are strung. So everything's resting on him. He says, chapter 7, text 7, I think that is. That Mata Param, yeah. 7:7. So he is like the string upon which all the pearls are strung. So everything rests on him. Everything rests on him as pearls. Yep, that's the one. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. That's a good one, isn't it? Just like you might have 100 beads on your necklace, but it has one string. But the most important thing is the one string. Because if you pull out the one string, all the pearls are scattered. So Krishna's holding everything together. Krishna's holding everything together. Food for thought. Food for thought. Does anyone want to say anything about any of these points? Okay, so that's how we get liberated. If you work in devotion, that means giving up the results of whatever activities you do. Give that for the pleasure of Krishna. And to always be living according to transcendental knowledge, which will remove all the ignorance and doubts from our life. So let's read the purport. Bob, do you want to read the purport to this one?
Yep, no trouble. So we're on. Sorry.
Text 41 of the 4th chapter.
I'm there. Okay. So we're on where it says one who acts in devotional service. No,
Yes,
purport.
so the purport
Sorry.
for that one.
Okay. One who follows the instructions. Correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
One who follows the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, imparted by the Lord, the personality of Godhead himself, becomes free from all doubts by the grace of transcendental knowledge. He, as a perfect and parcel of the Lord, as a part and parcel of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, is already established in self-knowledge. As such, he is undoubtedly above bondage to action.
Very deep.
Yes. So if you have any doubts about what is transcendental knowledge is the instructions of the Lord. So transcendental knowledge is not from any Tom, Dick, and Harry. That I had this amazing brainwave last night when I woke up from bed. You know, I had this amazing dream, and I'm just going to write it down in a book, and you know, like that. And that's not what transcendental knowledge is. It's not coming from us. Transcendental knowledge comes down to us from the Supreme Being. Comes from the Supreme Being. Whatever the words of the Supreme Being are, that is transcendental knowledge. And whatever comes from our own limited understanding, that's just material. That's mundane. That's mundane. So, you know, we get knowledge, right, from when we went to school. We get knowledge from our parents. We get knowledge from libraries. But that's not necessarily transcendental. Of course, if the knowledge we get from our parents is filtered down from the Supreme, we accept that too. I mean, like Prabhupada, for example, Prabhupada's parents were pure devotees of Krishna. So his father taught him so much transcendental knowledge. Actually, it said, Prabhupada said, I learned everything that what my guru taught me later on in life, his guru Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I learned everything that my guru taught me. Already I had learned it from my father. Already I learned it from my father, except for one thing. You know what the one thing that he didn't learn from his dad, that extra thing he learned from his guru?
That the spread the word in the East.
Publishing books. About the importance of and how to publish transcendental books. But all the philosophy about the soul and the supreme soul and karma and reincarnation and yoga and sacrifice and everything he'd already learnt from his father, because his father was also spiritually connected. His father was also a devotee, was a bhakti yogi. So, but the main thing is that knowledge, whatever you're hearing or whatever you're learning, that what is the source of it? I mean, it might be coming through the mouth of this person or that person, but the original source of that knowledge, it must be coming from the Supreme. Therefore, Prabhupada is entitling this book, Bhagavad Gita, as it is. As it is. Gita means the words or song, and Bhagavad means God, and as it is means he hasn't interpreted it. So
Gita
not
comes
changing.
every Saturday for a dinner.
What's that?
Gita comes every Saturday to have a dinner at the restaurant.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. That's very nice.
That's also Gita.
Yes, that's also Gita. So hopefully she's
I call them
fulfilling
as
the purport of her. Hopefully she's fulfilling the purport of the meaning of her name and becoming a nice singer. Hopefully for Krishna.
I call it Sangita. Sangita means singing. She comes to sing as well Saturday night Kirtan.
Oh yes.
Sangita.
You got Gita and Sangita.
Sangita. So
Yes.
Sangeet means music.
Yes. So looking at that, even let's look at that a bit more detail. So you've got a good voice. You're a good singer. So how would that singer become a sannyasi?
They sing for God. They sing for Krishna.
You sing for God. Then you're a sannyasi. If you sing, oh, I love that girl, and then she broke my heart, and then she left me, and then you sing some mundane stuff, then you're not a sannyasi. But if you sing to glorify the Lord, then you're a sannyasi. So that's giving up the result. See, that's a result, right? That's you're producing something. So like someone is producing some good music, that's a result. So, but you've got to connect that result with the Supreme. Or someone is an artist, right? So they're producing good art. So you do artwork to glorify the beautiful form of the Lord or the pastimes of the Lord, like that. Like they say, a picture is worth more than 1,000 words, isn't it? A picture speaks, wasn't it? Picture speaks more than 1,000 words, or is worth more than 1,000 words. So you can learn so much just through seeing a picture. So if those pictures can be helping us to connect with the Lord, then that's a sannyasi. Okay, so we've nearly reached the end of the line with our time, and my wife's here now. It's hard for me to go over time anymore.
I know why, because she's cooking some decent meal. That's why you want to go.
An hour, very good.
She cooks really decent meal. That's why you want to go. Shadam.
We've already had prasadam, no more. That's it.
No, I'm saying you managed to stay over an hour.
Well, it's not marriage. I've been nice. I really love to listen to Abhay Prabhu. It's just it's a glue, it's a super glue.
Super glue.
Even if I want to escape, it's like a Krishna, no escape. Once you get in, there's a one way, no way out. So I'm in the drug from Abhay Prabhu, and in the drug, you know that you don't know where you are. What's the watch? What's the time? Yeah, you yawning now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel so sleepy nowadays.
That's good. So but one thing I want to ask you that that the Beatles they did that song for like a other, and the fruitive action towards Krishna, they give it a lot of land to the ISKCON.
Yeah.
So that's also austerity. It's like they didn't sing a song for
that's
Krishna.
Also sannyas.
Yes, that's also because they sing a song for selling the albums. And this wasn't a Krishna glorified, but fruit offered to Krishna.
Yeah, fruit offered to Krishna. But I mean, said my sweet Lord, things like that. So some songs were dedicated for glorifying the Lord.
Yeah.
And mentioning Hare Krishna and things like that. So there is some devotional activities there, and definitely sacrificing the results. Yeah. So there's some. It's called. See, there's pure devotional service. That's called Shuddha. Shuddha means pure. Shuddha. Bhakti. Shuddha. And Hindi is should. Sanskrit is Shuddha. So Shuddha Bhakti. And then there's Mishra. Mishra means mixed bhakti. Mishra.
Yeah.
So you've got karma Mishra bhakti. So it means bhakti, devotion, mixed with Mishra with karma, means fruitive activities. So it means some things I'll do for you, Krishna, and some things I'll do for me. And some things I'll do for you, and some things I'll do for me. So that's bhakti mixed with karma, means your own fruitive work. And then you've got jnana mishra bhakti. So bhakti, devotion to the Lord, mixed with speculative knowledge.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting everything from what Krishna's saying. Some things I'm getting from my crazy mind, because I like, just concocting things with my fertile brain. So you still like using your fertile brain, and I think it's like this, and maybe it's like this, and it could be like this. So you're still a bit of a speculator, but at the same time, there's still a bit of a pursuit for connecting with the Supreme. And then there's yoga mishra bhakti. So there's bhakti, devotion, but mixed with doing the exercises and the breathing and the mechanical bodily activities and all these kind of things like that, and mystic powers and wanting mystic powers and so forth. So so it's not all or nothing, and Krishna does accommodate that, and he knows that we're struggling, and that we all have our different conditionings and like that, and he can work with everyone, but he lets us know what's the best. He lets us know what's the best. Like in the end of the 6th chapter, he says what's the best. Yoginam api save sam madgantain antaratmata Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mata. And of all yogis, the one who always thinks of me within himself, who, what does it say? Who meditates on my transcendental form. He is the topmost yogi and is most, he is the topmost and intimate, I can't remember the English, but topmost yogi, most intimately connected with me. I'll read the proper translation because mine's a bit, I know what it means, but putting exactly what the English is a bit hard. Okay, here it is. And of all yogis, the one who with great faith always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So he tells us bhakti is the best, the topmost. But yeah, if you want to do your gyan, speculation, if you want to do karma, if you want to do yoga, you know, okay, that's all good, you know, like that. But bhakti is the best. Like that. And he leaves us the choice. Then now you do. I've told you everything. You do what you like now. And that's what he says at the end of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna.
Yeah.
Now I've told you everything. Now do what you like. He gives it, at the end of everything, he gives us free choice. Because then that's the only way you can get bhakti. You can't force bhakti. Because love means it has to come from you voluntarily. You can't make someone love you. But he's saying, I just want a loving relationship with you. That's the best. But if you want to do something else, okay.
So that love sometimes comes in the early age, sometimes comes in the later age. That love, and it doesn't come by itself. Sometimes early age. Some people they're in their 20s, some they go in the 40s, some they're in 60s. Then they realize that the loves come in the different timing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone has
End of the day,
some,
that's mercy.
everyone has some bhakti, even if it's minute, but there's some. Like if there's an engine, if you're in a plane and the engine cuts out, everyone has bhakti.
Even little turbulence.
God save me, oh God, save me. You know, so everyone has, it's there. It's just underlying in everyone's heart. It's in everyone has it, but it just comes out. Like I remember one guy who was so materialistic, and then he had a goal to go from 50,000 a year to 100,000 a year. I told the story before, and I'll just really shortcut it. And then he was so frustrated. He had 100 grand, but he was more miserable from his horrible materialistic life. And he said for the first time in his life, he prayed, he said, God, if you exist, then please help me. And the next day I came to his office with some books, you know, Science of Self-Realization.
That's right.
You know, so everyone has some bhakti, but it's just about how to develop it. It's there. You don't get it from outside. You don't have to go to India to get bhakti, or it's in New Zealand, it's in Australia, it's in the deep dark Africa, it's in God-forsaken Siberia, it's in everyone's heart. It's even in the heart of the dog and the pig and everyone.
Even in the Sarah's cat as well.
Yeah, even in Sarah's cat.
Yes.
But it's just more or less covered. It's just about how to best make it blossom. How to best make it blossom. And the best way to make it blossom, as mentioned here, is by hearing Krishna's instructions. That's the best way to make it blossom, is by hearing Krishna's instructions.
And then whoever
That's why the 9 processes of bhakti, 9 process bhakti, the first one is Shravanam, hearing. If you hear, the bhakti is just going to go boom. It's going to be like a rocket ship. If you hear from Krishna's devotee, your bhakti is just going to go off the Richter scale. And the other thing is, by giving up the results of your activities to Krishna, Krishna's going to say, wow, you gave that apple pie to me. You made that samosa, that salad, that nice salad for me. Wow, thank you so much. Here, take my blessings.
And if you really want a true bhakti, come to the
Yeah.
bhakti tree and eat the prasadam we offer to
Yeah.
Jagannath.
Yes.
So whoever in the class, please come to bhakti tree, have a prasadam.
Yes,
That's,
and
offering
very
to
soon all the curry is going to be made by Gulshan because we're losing our cook.
No. It's
So very soon Gulshan's going to be making, so there's going to be more bhakti in it.
only
more bhakti.
Jagannath. Jagannath is there and he's dribbling in the plate, and that become a prasadam, very sweet. Come and enjoy that. I guarantee that is a satisfactory.
Yeah.
Or money back.
There's amazing things happen around this world. It's amazing. And Jagannath Puri Temple, where the original Jagannath is from, Jagannath Puri Temple, it's said there in some places, some of the kitchens there, all they do is they, like a curry or whatever, so many things are there, parts in the process. All they do, they put all the ingredients together in the pot and then they just leave it. They don't.
In a clay pot.
Yeah, in a clay pot. They put all the ingredients together in a clay pot,
Yeah.
and then they just leave it. And mysteriously,
Become a
someone
kitchen.
cooks it. And it's said that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, comes to that kitchen and cooks for Jagannath.
And
They
you know
don't
that
actually
they
cook
put
it.
They put it
They
one
just
by one
so
like
maybe if you don't know how to do it, that's what you'll have to do. Say, put all the ingredients in front of Jagannath and say, Jagannath, I don't know how to cook. You cook it. You cook it yourself, or get someone else to cook it. And then like that, and then maybe he'll arrange for someone to cook it.
And you know the funny thing, they put the clay pot, one on the top, almost 9 on the top, and the top one cook first rather than the bottom.
It's amazing things happen. Can you imagine?
Yes.
The fire's at the bottom,
And
the
the
fire's
top
at
one
the
cooks
bottom,
first.
but the very top pot cooks first.
It's like a
And
noise
there's a
in the road.
flag. There's a flag. There's a flag on top of the
Goes
temple,
opposite direction of the wind.
and it goes the opposite direction to the wind. There's a whole book of mystical things about Jagannath Puri.
Yeah, nobody knows.
And even the shadows in the wrong place, and
Actually, I saw that. We saw that the flag was on the opposite side of
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The wind's going to the south and the flag's going north. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing things happen.
It's amazing. Like there's a one real story that there's a one quite millionaire. He went to Jagannath. He stayed one of the hotel and he wants to become a temple, modify and do that this way. So I've got money. I can do this. And then he was quite wealthy, and then he's got a connection with the council and all that. And the priest says that, oh, should we leave it like that? He said, no, we're going to do it this way. And then he made a plan like a $500 million for, TLC and stuff like that. And then he went to his hotel and where he's sleeping there. Next morning he wake up, he was 500 kilometers away. And he wake up in the hotel there, which is Rajasthan. He said, where I am? And he says, where I am? He says, oh, I was in Jagannath Puri. Next day, he was wake up 500 kilometers away from Jagannath Puri. Yeah. Then he realized that leave it up to the devotees, whatever they're doing, how they're doing.
Don't mess with Jagannath.
No.
Jagannath means Lord of the Universe.
That's
it. Don't piss off the Lord of the
Universe. He's a Krishna of Kali Yuga.
Otherwise, he'll beat you 500 kilometers away.
Easy.
One devotee, this is going back some hundreds of years ago, he was very upset by how he treated Jagannath's priest. So he kicked him all the way to South India. Yeah. That's a long way from Orissa to South India.
It is.
So he booted him back home. You go bugger off back home. Don't you upset my devotees.
That's it.
Yeah. So don't mess with the Lord of the Universe.
Even when the devotees, when they talk, when they put that on the rat, they just pick it up and then they talk like that. Come on, Jagannath, get up on there. We're taking so long. They talk like a Sakha.
He's just a friend. Yeah.
Yes. So come on, get on there. We need to go. And they're talking like that.
Yeah.
But they have got a very good connections.
Special relationship.
Oh.
Special relationship. Yes.
Yeah. Because they're friends. Friends you can talk whatever way you like.
Yeah, that's right.
But you can't talk with your boss like that.
The card they make the card. The card is there's no books, no instruction. Pass it on by the generation. Every year they make the card, Jagannath, the Rath Yatra. The card make it by hand carving only, and there's no instruction. Just pass it on, father to the son, to the son, to the son.
Yeah.
Big Rath.
And you even know how they get the wood to make the cart.
Yes.
One of the builders, one of the priests, actually the priest, it comes in a dream where the tree is.
Yes.
He has a dream that go over there, and there's the tree that you're going to make the cart from is over there. And they go to that place that no one's been before. They go to that place, and the tree's there.
Wow.
It's
really mystical.
Even when they're taking the rat cart, and half the way through, the rat doesn't go any further. They put the whole army to move the chariot, doesn't move, because there was a place there where the Bhaktivinoda Thakur was there.
Yes.
And he come out and like, then it moved. Like, it's just, that was,
because that was when Prabhupada's guru was just been born. He was a baby.
Yeah.
So when Bhaktivinoda Thakur brought his newborn son, which was Bhaktisiddhanta, brought him out of the house in front of the deities.
Handcart moved.
Then the garland fell off the deity, which is a very good sign. Fell around the neck.
Yeah.
Fell around the neck of the baby. Fell down off the 20 foot or whatever, 20 foot down off the deity around the neck. What's the chance of that? Falling on the neck of the baby. Then the cart moved by itself.
Otherwise, cart wasn't moving at all.
That's
they
amazing.
just push it hard, all the army, but no one is even moving an inch.
Yeah.
We're
talking about the main man. We're talking about the supreme power.
We're
talking about. So we want to connect with the powerhouse. Connect with the powerhouse. Connect with the powerhouse. And then if you do that, then by the mercy of the Lord, we can make this world a better place, because we want to help people. But that's the best way to do it. The best way to help anyone else, help the animals and the birds and the people and everyone like that, the poor people, everyone, is by connecting with the Lord. And then he has the power to do miracles. So with that nice thought, maybe we should leave it at that.
Okay. I need to go to
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, lovely to see you all. Take care, everyone.
Lovely to see you all. Thank you. Your house looks beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Nice to see you all.
Likewise. Thank you.
Take care.